Hello, my name is Ruben from Rice Digital, and this is our video preview of Final Fantasy XIV Shadowbringers. Okay, so this is all of our footage, or at least a highlight reel, essentially, of our footage. It's all development footage, so it's subject to final adjustments and changes. That notice will be in the bottom right-hand corner of the video for the whole video, just in case you forget. And it's from the press event for Shadowbringers that happened on May 17th in London. So thank you to Square Enix for inviting us to it. It's going to cover our thoughts on the expansion, as well as 4 areas: Ilmeg, Lakeland, the Crystarium, and the level 74 dungeon, Dom Meg. So let's get started, shall we? So we're going to start with a sequence of first-person kind of panning shots of the 4 areas, just so you can get an idea of really the kind of tragic beauty, in a way, of the world that Shadowbringers is set in. This is Ilmeg. We'll come back to this quite a few times, just simply because there's quite a few instances and battles that took place here. As you can see, basically just absolutely stunning area. And this is Lakeland, or at least this is a kind of more grounded view of Lakeland. We will very shortly go into a more panoramic viewing one. And once again, you can almost feel the oppression of the light and the sort of beauty that has come from this inspiration that the team had to return to the first and have this world that is being essentially poisoned by the sheer power of the light. Something that was hinted to earlier on in the series, and this is literally Lakeland from the sky. And as you can see, the Crystal Tower is viewable, and it's the same with Ilmeg as well. The Crystal Tower is viewable in the distance. There's this, it kind of goes with the sort of idea of the light being an oppressive force, that the Crystal Tower is viewable like almost everywhere, as this sort of almost imposing force on the landscape. Beautiful, yes, but like imposing as well. And really, I absolutely love that. I think it's fantastic. And I love the colours as well. So the pinks, the purples, and the greens all give the kind of illusion of this thriving, colourful world, but it's actually being destroyed by the very light that touches it. And yeah, it's all very thematic, and it all kind of really works within the game's setup. And that, to be fair, is perfect. And there is the Crystal Tower in the distance, the big looming thing that obviously we've seen in the main game as well, but seems to form a more fundamental purpose in this particular expansion, which I love the idea of, absolutely love the idea of. Speaking of which, actually, I should say here that we weren't shown anything story-wise to do with the expansion, so therefore I don't know anything new about the story. Hopefully that will become clear once the expansion comes out. But yeah, this is the Crystarium, so in Yulmore. Once again, beautiful greens, blues, purples, pinks. It's all very bright and very colourful. Once again, bleeding into every other area that you visit, or every other area that we visited, to be more specific, in the expansion. And I presume this would run across the entire expansion. This beautiful world, which is like on the process. It's a different perspective on the apocalypse, in my opinion, because rather than going down the traditional route of the end of days where everything is just destroyed, in this everything is beautiful and thriving, but at the same time it is at the end of days, and it's a very stark contrast. And that is that's kind of a fantastic route to take. Once again, having another panning image going around the Crystarium here, so you can once again, the Crystal Tower there, very prominent. very, very important piece of the architecture in the distance. And also, as you can see, I'm playing a Viera in this as well. There will be Viera and Hrothgar both shown in this. I didn't do the character customization tool in this video, simply because there are many, many videos out there that are already extensively covering the character creation tool in Shadowbringers because of the recent benchmark release. So we won't be covering that in here, but I do have a Viera and a Hrothgar both in this video. So you can see their movement and their basic setup at the very least. And as you can see, obviously, White Mage, this is the level 80 artifact gear, along with the cane that comes with that level. Absolutely beautiful, in my opinion. I mean, it's a little bit more wedding-y than I would like, but it still works. So, onto the combat now. So, I very, very briefly, as you can see here, touched upon Gunbreaker. I don't tend to tank when I play the game myself, so I am not overly au fait with the way that tanks work. But I managed to get a basic rotation down and a basic understanding of the Gunbreaker mechanics. It plays very frenetically, which is very, very nice. I have played Ninja and jobs like that, and it feels kind of like those, but with a heavier influence, which is good. But yeah, the tank, the Gunbreaker is a thoroughly enjoyable job. Then I went on to Red Mage. Red Mage is a job that I do know quite well. I'm only at level 55, I believe, but it's a job that I've at least played, so I had a rough recollection of how it works, and as you can see here, playing with one of the other reviewers that was there. Then on to Black Mage. Black Mage has had basically just a couple of additions to the tool set, which is all it really needed, to be fair. It hasn't been changed a great deal. I mean, I'm not going to talk too much about the job changes in here because that's not what I'm here for. I'm here to preview the expansion, but Black Mage is a job that I've leveled up to quite a decent level, so therefore it was interesting playing it at a higher level and seeing how the changes have occurred. Once again, same with Scholar. As a healer, as my predominant class, I've played like predominantly White Mage, but like my Scholar is not too far behind. And playing Scholar was a interesting experience because a lot has changed. The shift to being more focused on healing, as they've done with all of the healers in Shadowbringers, is fantastic for me because it means that I can be more focused in a battle scenario, which is fine by me. But as you can see, I'm fighting my way around Ilmeg here as well. You can see Ilmeg in the background, and also if you listen keenly, and if I shut up during one of the battles, which I will do very shortly, you'll be able to hear the battle music for Shadowbringers, which is phenomenal. Once again, Soken has done a fantastic job with the music on the battles, and also, to be fair, the music as you're walking around, the music in Ilmeg and Lakeland, the Crystarium, and Don Meg, which we'll see towards the end of the video, is all fantastic music. So really, Soken's hit it out of the park again, and really that's all we needed to know really about the expansion. It's just they've done such a fantastic job of making everything just feel new, but also have a feel that kind of links it to the main game and the other expansions before it. So yeah, great job on the music as well. As you can see, I've struggled a little bit here trying to take something down with a Scholar. I do much better with White Mage, I promise you. Not like I'm not unbeatable, but I at least do a little bit better because this did turn into a bit of a palaver, this battle. So yes, White Mage. Here's where I'm most happy, and also the changes for Shadowbringers are absolutely phenomenal. I won't go too much into them here, but let's just say White Mage is... I'm glad to see that White Mage is a lot more viable at higher levels now, based on the new tools. And that pleases me. That pleases me to absolutely no end. But I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that is it for the jobs that I cover in this video. because I don't know too much about other jobs, so I tried to be realistic with the time I had. This is the level 80 enemy that's walking around Meg. So, oh, poorest Paldia, or Poldia, however you're supposed to pronounce that. And they aren't messing around. They really are not messing around. This thing caused my party that you can see here of like me and 7 other journalists, YouTubers, influencers, etc. that were at this press event. It wiped us multiple times, and I think you'll see me get wiped a couple of times, either once or a couple of times here. And whew, oh boy, yeah, it wasn't messing around. As well, I've switched to Hrothgar here that you can see, and Hrothgar looks really weird in this artifact armor, I must admit. It looks... whew, doesn't look right in robes. It would probably look better in like Gunbreaker or Warrior or something like that, but like in robes like this, it just looks at... it's a bit too beefy for the robes. But yeah, there you go, wiped. I think I get raised, yes. So this battle does go on a little bit longer. But I'm really glad that they've kept this going, this sort of like essentially incredibly challenging boss-style enemy that's just out in the open for you to battle. I love that they've kept this sort of thing going, and I've already started seeing it obviously in my travels. But we actually ended up, funny story, we ended up failing this because we ended up drawing it a little bit too far from its spawn point, so it reset. And yeah, that was not a good time at all. Finally, the dungeon. Dom Meg, level 74 dungeon. Very Alice in Wonderland illusion sort of feel to it. My assumption, I don't know for certain, but my assumption is that that this is a kind of dream sort of state. You've gone into a sort of dream state, because this area and the setting, etc., looks absolutely nothing like anything else you see in the game. It's full of life and has a very whimsical feel to it. So it's my assumption this is probably something to do with the Pixies, the new beast tribe, one of the new beast tribes, sorry, in Shadowbringers. And so you get to see some level 74 dungeon work with me using the more updated moveset of the White Mage, so including Dio and Glare and other spells that's been added to the toolset. I think this is, yeah, I kept this in, and I wanted to keep this in because I find it incredibly funny. I went into this dungeon with the hotbar set up exactly as it was when I went on to the demo station. So basically the hotbar was set up for White Mage, and I basically just went into the dungeon without thinking about it. I had a look at the new abilities, of course, so I knew what the new abilities did. Apologies about the camera there. But I went in without looking at the hotbar, and I should have done, because I did not realise that they had not put a particular spell that I needed on the hotbar, or at least they hadn't put it anywhere that made sense for me to find it, so therefore I didn't have raised. So we wiped, and these were the first enemies of the dungeon, and we wiped because I couldn't raise anyone. So we all got wiped out, and as you'll see here, as it just literally slowly but surely goes downhill, and I get shot in the back, I think, at the end. But like, it's a word of caution, like easy kind of story of caution for anyone to follow. But if you're at a demo station for Final Fantasy XIV, check your hotbar before you go into something, because you're just gonna get messed up like I did. Although I still find it very funny. I still find it hilarious that I was so foolish. This is the first boss of the dungeon. I think it's Eric Thon, or Eric Thon, the Lord of the Lingering Gaze, which I love that as a name. I love stupid long titles for things. This is a very known fact about me. Who is a ridiculous frog creature who has these splash AoE things that took our party so long to work out because they don't seem to make any sense. But once we kind of got it, as you saw there, like we managed to avoid the majority of the damage from them, rather than being like sprung up in the air, which happened to us constantly as we were trying to work out what we were supposed to do. In fact, actually, I'm not ashamed to admit this, the very helpful person from Square Enix who was manning the booths actually told us what we needed to do with those splashes. We're not bright, but we beat it. We defeated that thing. This is actually, as the Hearthgar here, you can actually see that on the left-hand side, my allies in this fight are Thancred, Minfilia, and Alize. That's because I tried the dungeon twice. I tried the dungeon once with other players that were attending the event, and once using the trust system, bringing in Thancred, Minfilia, and Alize as my allies for the dungeon. And the trust system works so well. The allies actually operate exactly as, well, not exactly as a player would do. They have less kind of autonomy when it comes to emergency events, but they really do help you through the dungeon. So if you are struggling to find matches on the Duty Finder to be able to bring you into a dungeon, the trust system is absolutely brilliant. Second boss that had some weird things, including growth that involved growing me as well, which but yeah, as you can see, like the dungeon, like a lot of dungeons in the latter parts of Final Fantasy XIV, go through various different aesthetic changes as you go through the dungeon. There's actually a third one that you'll see, like down here, down the road, in this actual segment here. Like, once again, a dramatic change of aesthetic and enemy design, etc. But really, the expansion is shaping up to be fantastic. From what I can gather from talking to people that play certain jobs and watched the live letter recently with Naoki Yoshida and his team, the job action changes and the role changes in general have been mostly well received, and all of the changes to the jobs that I play personally are fantastic and have really kind of added to the experience of playing these roles and these jobs, and that is something that I'm very glad to see continues going, even after the point that I'm at in the games currently. The enemy design continues to be fantastic and interesting, and the mechanics during boss fights, once again, are incredibly interesting, immersive, and require you to think on your feet, especially when you are playing a role like mine where you have to be planted quite a lot of the time. Same with Black Mage, etc. You need to be planted to be able to cast these spells, and forcing me to think about where I need to be, what I need to be doing at any given time, and forcing me to think that way is a strength that Final Fantasy XIV has always had, and Shadowbringers definitely continues that tradition. And to be fair, that is to be respected. This, by the way, is the final boss of Don Meg, who is a bit of an illusionist and kind of changes his own form and changes the arena to his advantage. But yeah, basically, truth be told, Shadowbringers is shaping up to be fantastic, and I cannot wait for the 2nd of July, I believe it is, when it launches. And even that, I will be on the early access as well in June, just simply because I really, really want to be playing Shadowbringers now. It's shaping up to be fantastic. So that's all I have to say. Thank you so much to Square Enix for having us along for the press day, and I'll see you next time.